Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shagok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at why Rudeus Greyrat was so incredibly nervous about this duel with Luke and feared for his life, despite how easily he won the duel. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, and say my thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's start with the topic at hand. And let's address the obvious. Rudeus Greyrat may have an enormous mana reserve, but even without being able to use it, he has still an impressive career as a warrior behind him. Even though his new father, Paul Greyrat, is lazy, he was a true natural talent in swordsmanship and mastered all 3 swordsmanship schools at the advanced level, and he trained Rudy since childhood, giving him a fundamental understanding of swordplay and an understanding of what to expect from the various sword fighting schools. Furthermore, Rudy trained under Sword King Ghislaine, along with Ares, who is highly skilled and a natural talent in combat. And when Rudy was stranded on the Demon Continent due to the mana disaster and had to fight his way back home, he not only trained with Ares, but also with Rudeus, one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. Moreover, Rudy received his magical eye from Kishirika Kishirisu, which allows him to peer into the future, albeit only for a few seconds, before the images become too blurry and unreliable due to the many possible futures it can see. However, despite these advantages and years of experience that he gained not only through training or practice fights, but to actual life and death battles, Rudy was incredibly nervous and feared for his life before his duel with Luke. So why is that? Now, for one, Rudy is unable to use the battle aura that people like Ares use to increase their resistances and physical strength in combat, simply because they, in contrast to him, can use their mana to deflect or at least mitigate heavy damage. In other words, even though Rudy can not only anticipate, but see into the future to gain insight into the opponent's next attacks, a single good hit or a single mistake by him could sever his hand, or indeed his head. And Rudy in this situation also didn't wear armor that would protect him from such strikes. He also wasn't prepared for the duel, as it came out of nowhere for him, and also his longsword had just been healed, and his confidence was still somewhat shaken, especially in comparison to the confident and womanizing Luke. On the other hand, Luke didn't initiate the duel by using a practice sword, but he wanted to fight with his real weapon, which has been magically enchanted and reinforced. Additionally, Luke's clothing is magical, providing him with increased agility and reflexes, just like that one of Sylphie. For example, his boots of haste make him quick on his feet, much more so than a normal man could ever hope to be without excessive training. In addition, Luke had precisely the armor that Rudy lacked, the one that protected him from sword swings, so he entered the duel wearing magical gear and cut-resistant clothing that combined had a greater value than the house, or rather the mansion, that Rudeus had just bought, at half the price. And therefore Luke could endure hits that could have been potentially fatal for Rudeus. And furthermore, Luke is part of the Princess of Ranoa's bodyguard and has protected Ariel during her escape from the kingdom, shielding her from assassins and other human adversaries, while Rudy has yet to take the life of another human in direct combat, and has fought mainly against animals and monsters on his travels, rather than human adversaries. Luke had plenty of experience in defeating human opponents under battlefield conditions on the other hand. Moreover, the battle against Orsted traumatized him, and Rudy was keenly aware of how quickly one might have to fight for his life, out of nowhere, and how swiftly a situation that had been peaceful and uneventful so far can change for a life and death struggle. And of course, this to Rudy felt like precisely such a situation. Additionally, Rudy had just become engaged to Sylvie and bought a house. This is not only a death flag, but of course now he didn't want to unnecessarily risk his life, even more so than before. Also, Rudys trauma from his old world instilled a certain fear of people that are confident and that want to engage in battles with him. And all of this combined with the fact that the duel came out of nowhere and real weapons were used made Rudy very cautious and nervous. This is also the reason he used his Eye of Foresight, despite it technically requiring mana and could be technically considered to be magic. But again, Rudy wanted to have every possible advantage he could under this very situation. And when the actual duel started, Rudy was also relieved that Luke wasn't as fast as Ares, Rudyard, or even Linear and Persina. Rudy found his attacks to be somewhat off and slow compared to the dangerous opponents he had already defeated, and this in combination with his Eye of Foresight easily allowed him to find a gap in Luke's attack pattern and choose the aggressive Sword God fighting style to swiftly counterattack and break Luke's sword arm. And Rudy, after fighting Ares hundreds of times, knew perfectly well that the fight against such a committed opponent wouldn't be over with just one attack, but only when Luke lay on the ground, with the sword of Rudy pointed at his throat. In other words, even though Rudy underestimated himself once again, it makes perfect sense that he was so afraid of the fight, which came suddenly, was fought with actual weapons and without his magic to rely upon. And there's even more to the duel, but for today, Arkil wanted just to make sure that Rudy could protect Sylvie. And with that said, now it's your turn. Let me know your thoughts about the duel and of course about the duel down in the comment section. And while you type, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel and say my special thanks to ASK, Bad Guy Yi, Bad Burrito 316, Biza, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Okill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shangox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenukai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.